From the Hanuman Health Club in the heart of Inwood, New York City, welcome to Inwood Artworks On Air. It's where we meet the musicians, filmmakers, writers, theater makers, and artists of all stripes who make their home in what we affectionately call Upstate Manhattan. I'm your host, Aaron Sims, and today we welcome filmmaker Michael Manese. Michael is an Inwood-based Philippine-born filmmaker. His previous films include When Bart 6874 Met Lulu 5547, Maxine, and The Pleasure of Being Served, which has gone on to play 22 film festivals throughout North America, Europe, and the Philippines. He is currently in production for his latest project, Asian Persuasion, which is a recipient of Inwood Artworks' Inwood Film Festival Filmmaker Fund grant. We're going to talk to him about that and so much more. But first, Michael, welcome to Inwood Artworks On Air. Great seeing you, my friend.
Great seeing you. Thanks for having me.
Sure thing. Well, how are you?
Things are good. I'm really busy now. I started working on the short film, Asian Persuasion, and next week, September 4th, we start, dress rehearsal. We're gonna walk around Fort Tryon Park, pick out the right sceneries, and then the weekend after that, we are looking to shoot, weather permitting.
Woohoo!
Yeah, finally, after about a year, after getting the grant.
Oh, my goodness. That's awesome. Well, we're going to talk about Asian Persuasion in a little bit because I can't wait to hear all about it. But we're going to set up you for the people here who perhaps don't know your work and the fact that you serve as writer, editor, producer and director of all your films, and I
did the painting for the latest poster.
I saw that. I saw your internet, your social media posts. It's amazing. So essentially, Michael, you're a one-man gang.
Yeah,
and so knowing your work, which I do pretty well, I can't help but notice that they have a common thread about exploring love and relationships, perhaps a dark humor, situational, comedic style to them. Mm-hmm. And I'm just so super curious of, was there a specific TV show or film that drew you in and that it's kind of pushed you in that way to find your voice in exploring this genre?
Yeah. The films you've mentioned, the ones that I made, have all been dark comedies. But the one film that probably influenced me the most is not a dark comedy. It's actually, have you ever heard of HUD with Paul Newman?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, it's. I saw it in college, and it's probably the first movie I've seen where the villain is like the main character, and he got away with a lot of it. He got away with it, with everything, just because, he was played by Paul Newman. So if I had read that screenplay on paper, it would have been like, who is this guy? He's a womanizer. He's a bad example for his nephew. And then he sort of like sells out his dad's, cattle farm, just so he could inherit the money, and then sell some bad cattle to, across the border Mexicans, knowing that they're like diseased, but he won't tell them. Like, he's a really bad character, but then, he's played by Paul Newman. It's like, it's Paul Newman, so he can get away with a lot of things. So I'm like, basically, he's an anti-hero, a villain who you kind of rooted for at the same time. And I guess the director found the goodness in him, whether he's charming, good looking, and any other whatever.
It's just like you, apparently.
Yeah. So I was like, wow, anti-heroes, villains can be really interesting main characters. So since then, my challenge to myself is to take unlikable characters and make them likable. Like The Pleasure of Being Served, none of the characters there, I admit, are likable. The womanizing American, and then the cleaning woman who's kind of sells out her own, her countrywoman because of money. But then, I try to find the goodness in them, the humor in them, so that even though they're not likable, people will still like them, or at least follow them throughout the movie.
At least have qualities you can identify with, right?
Yeah.
So you see choices there, and the relatable choices.
Yeah.
But you can still root for them or against them.
Yeah.
Well, I enjoy that in your movies, the dark humor, and and holding on to the anti-hero as long as you can until you have to let them go. In either direction.
As long as they don't cross that line, it's like, okay, he's lost me. I can't finish this movie now.
Right. But I also personally enjoy, you have an anti-hero fact on your website. I think it's very interesting that people should check out. That I personally enjoy the fact that on your website you list all the film festivals Pleasure Being Served was not accepted to.
Oh, yeah.
On top of the ones that actually did as well. And so you have both there too. So what gave you that idea?
It's, I put it in there because, I tell people, my short film has made, 22, 23 film festivals all over the world. And they're, that's great, congratulations. But the thing they don't know is I submitted the short film to like more than 100, maybe 200 film festivals. And the result is like getting maybe 1/5 of my submissions, accepted. I don't know why I list it. I just think it's an interesting fact, interesting data. I don't know, maybe it'll inspire someone who's, out submitting their short films to film festivals. Like, oh, this guy submitted to all these great film festivals, but he didn't make it. But then these other film festivals picked him, so maybe it's a numbers game. Maybe I shouldn't give up because, I don't know. I just listed him. Why not?
Well, I can attest that The Pleasure Being Served was incredibly successful, and will continue to live on and play. And I just think it's really great that you did that because it just shows how hard it is to put your work out there. And you've made it by being the engine that pushes forward the project. And so can you share, what have you learned on that producing distribution side that has been effective in getting your work screened?
You need to promote your movie. You need to raise awareness. You need to make sure people know about it before you've even shot a frame of that short film. That's why I do a lot of social media stuff now. That's why I did the poster already. And I promote my actors whenever I can, like every other day on social media. Oh, look, meet the cast. I think that a lot of distribution means hype, meaning just because you made the greatest short film ever doesn't mean people will automatically see it, because when you submit it to film festivals, you'll be competing with hundreds, maybe thousands of other greatest short films ever made. So how do you make yourself stick out? One way of doing that is, just raise awareness from day one. I just get into people's minds like, oh, I have a film coming up. It's going to be about this, so that when it's out, hopefully people will say like, oh yeah, I've been hearing about that. I can't wait to see it. It's sort of like, when you see, like for me, when I see a Hollywood movie and I come out of it, it's like, oh man, I didn't like that movie at all. I wasted $16 in 3 hours of my life seeing what made me want to see that. And then I think back, it's like, well, it's the commercials. It's the interviews, so the stars promoting their projects. So it's a lot of it is hype. Yeah.
Well, you do a great job. You really do, I think, really. It's personal, obviously, but at the same time is that it serves everybody, and you can't rely on someone else to do the work to get your passion out there. Are there any particular networks you would suggest for people to explore when getting their work out there for PR purposes, for short films?
For me, I just do everything myself. Since I started getting into film festivals, I just keep track of contacts of other filmmakers, film festival people run film festivals, so that the next time I make a short film, I can tell them, look, if you like my last short film, you're gonna love this one. And I've been lucky enough that I have about 3 or 4 film festivals or 3 or 4 film festival connections where they've said, anytime you have a short film, just send it over.
That's
We're
great.
going to screen it because we like you. You've been consistent with really good work, and when we pick your film, you do so much work promoting it, and you promote us. And anyway, so the goal is to have a lot more of those where your name is out there, like, supersedes you, so that hopefully people will say, programmers will say, oh, you know what? I hear Mike Manese is coming out with a movie. I don't care what it's about. I don't care if he's shot it yet. Just tell him we're going to screen it because he brings in the press. He brings in attention to our festivals. He does crazy things that attracts attention to himself and to his work and to his films.
Well, I think the key unpacking point of that is that you cultivate relationships with festivals. It's not just like, here's my 25th social media post this week about my film, which people can, I'll say, be happy about for the first maybe 5, and then they need to break from you. But the cultivation of your work and saying, oh, this is a person whose work I trust, that's the main thing, because that's what you want to bring around, is cultivation of relationships based on the solid content of your work.
Yeah, and you have to be consistent too. If I've been lucky enough that my work is being liked by a lot of people, so I can work off that. It's like, oh, this made so many film festivals, you're going to like this, and I can build off that. It's not like, you got to take my short films, like, well, how many film festivals have you made? 0, but you're going to like it, seriously.
Yeah. Well, and segueing into film festivals, like, you haven't attended a film festival in a while, right? I haven't. Nobody has. If they did, it's a rare occasion. What's your take on the virtual world, this virtual film festival world we've been living in now for a year and a half?
Well, it's tough because being accepted to a film festival and doing the red carpet and seeing your work screened on a big screen, and you're with other filmmakers. I mean, as an aspiring amateur filmmaker, that's like, that's the best we could hope for. I mean, obviously we use these short films to build on to make more short films to eventually make a feature. But for now, like myself, I don't expect to make money off my short films, even though I spend thousands on them. But my goals for short films are, getting the recognition, getting it screened, getting it seen by people, and getting my point across about my thoughts and this and that. And seeing people see it on a big screen and getting like a live reaction. It's just the best feeling. And I'm hoping that by the time you finish shooting this next one, that we'll have a lot more in-person film festivals, so I can bring the whole gang, cast and crew, and
it's a celebration.
Share the moment of being in the spotlight and getting all these, congratulations.
Hey, I think it's not shame. You can not be shameless to say that and saying like it's hard work that you're showing up this dough for. You want recognition for your work. It's okay to say that.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's like I said, for now, I don't make money off these short films, but what I do like and what I strive for is really just, some recognition, and hopefully whatever message I'm trying to get across, people will get, and they go, see this movie and get a little bit of a part of me in it.
Oh, I'm always fascinated. I mean, we'll see what happens because it's. I feel we're on our way back of doing it, and we will. As I was telling someone earlier today, the Inwood Film Festival is only sleeping. It is forthcoming again. And listen, we went from a film festival that was annually to weekly by putting out local filmmakers' work, including The Pleasure of Being Served, amongst other local filmmakers' work every single week during the pandemic. And why it was nice, and we do appreciate the compliments, and the filmmakers were all very appreciative of getting the extra PR and putting the work out. It isn't the same as being in the same room and sharing that experience of saying, "Did you see that? That was really great," and in that immediacy of the feedback and camaraderie, and hopefully collaboration. You never know where it's going to lead.
Collaboration,
Well, I'm always also fascinated about what moves them to create, and we already talked about the whole kind of like your genre and how you kind of live in that. But I also enjoy learning about specificity, about picking specific projects and going on that journey. So I like for you to start talking about the why, if you will, about Asian persuasion. Can you tell our listeners about the genesis of the idea, or perhaps where were you in your life at the time and what propelled you to write what would become the screenplay for it?
Sure. Well, for one thing, I have a disclosure to make. It's inspired a lot by this short film, the Zen and the what's the name of that? Zen and the Art of Zen and Landscape, something like that. It won an Oscar for short film 2001.
I can tell it had a big impact on you.
Yeah, it did. Zen and the Art of Landscaping.
I think that's
Robert Karch, and I got to give him a shout out because
Please do.
I saw this film, 2000, 2001, and I thought it was the funniest short film I've ever seen. And I remember for a couple of years, I'm like, man, I wish I made that movie. It was so funny. It was so funny. Basically, it's just one thing leading from one thing to another, all in the space of, like one scene, which is the premise of Asian Persuasion now. But the story's different. The inspiration for this one is my wife Melanie and I were walking around Central Park, and we happened to stop by that fountain,
Bethesda
Fountain, and we watched a party, like a couple who the guy just proposed marriage to his girlfriend, and it was all staged because they were surrounded by relatives, and some guy brought in flowers, and the relatives were like taking photos and videos with their cell phones. And I think we just caught the moment when she said yes, and she got up and they gave each other a hug and a kiss, and the relatives started clapping. Yeah, congratulations. And then that whole party moved aside because there was another couple doing the same thing. So when that party moved to the side, another couple, they end their party, they went over in front of the Bethesda fountain. The guy got on his hands and knees and he proposed. She said yes, and the guests did the same thing, taking pictures and flowers.
It's like a wedding machine over there.
And Melanie and I are just not into that because, we're sort of like, I don't know, still newlyweds. Like we got married 2018, and I remember she was telling me, and we talked about getting married eventually. So I would say stuff like, well, when the time comes, I'm going to do this. The time comes, in terms of proposing. And she said, whatever you do, don't propose in public. Don't do that. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, that's not my thing. It's like, and then we talked about it. People, these want attention. Some people can just get enough attention. And to me, right. I want to get a lot of attention, but for my short films, but not for.
Well, are you going to tell us how you proposed to your wife then?
Yeah, it was in a hotel room in Paris on the night on her birthday.
That's nice.
And interesting thing about that is I was doing really well with The Pleasure of Being Served, and earlier that year, Cinematographo, it's like a Philippine-centric film festival in San Francisco. They called me and they said, Mike, we like your movie. We saw it at the 40th Asian American International Film Festival in New York. A scout saw it, brought it to our attention. Now we want to screen it for our very first festival. Would you come to San Francisco? We'll put you up in a hotel and fly you over. You just got to go over there and present your movie. And they're like, okay. I asked them, sure, yeah. What weekend is it? And it was the weekend that we had made plans to go to Paris for her birthday. So I ended up not going, but it's okay. I can't imagine telling her, yeah, what about our plans? Let's make it some other. Anyway, that's how we did it. It was in private in a hotel room in Paris. Okay. It wasn't, she was getting
the
nervous.
Eiffel Tower.
Not the same, like the walkway.
Yeah, the river Seine.
No, we didn't do that.
Okay, gotcha. So, you had all these, and this idea, and about weddings and getting engaged.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
And then also the series of events
Yeah,
that would spring from
Yeah.
that kind of again situational
Yeah.
comedy
Yeah.
or anti-comedy,
Yeah.
if you will.
Yeah.
So what I don't want you to give away the
Yeah.
people have to watch it to understand it.
Yeah.
So I also believe at one point, weren't you concerned about the name of
Yeah.
the show as well?
Yeah. Originally, I just wanted to have an all Asian cast, diverse all Asian cast. It could be, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Indian, whatever. But the more I cast, the more I was finding some really talented Filipino actors. And these actors knew each other. So I ended up, first I cast the male. I was like, oh, happened to be all Filipinos. What a coincidence! And then then I cast the actresses, and they're all Filipinas as well. I'm like, okay, Asian persuasion. I can change it now. I wasn't that keen on it in the beginning because I don't know, because I think I've heard it before. And I looked it up on IMDb. It was actually some pornographic movie. and then earlier this year, I get an email from a Filipino filmmaker making a feature-length movie with the same title. And I knew the guy. I wasn't going to say anything to him because, first of all, the title's being used already. And the second, it's like, I wasn't that, I wanted to change the title now to something more Filipino-centric, since we're all going to be Filipino. But I haven't come up with a new title yet.
But do you think it will change, though?
I think so. Okay. Yeah, I have some ideas already, but
I think it's cool you made a poster for a show that'll be like limited edition.
Yeah. Yeah.
Remember that show? Or people think you did 2 short films.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So when you're making a film in the best of times, a lot of things need to go right.
Yeah.
Yet COVID came along, as you said earlier in the interview, and you had to put plans on hold for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And now I'm so happy to hear you're gangbusters and knocking things out. So where were you when COVID hit with the production?
It was the summer of 2020 when I got the grant. And I remember, and I was glad that you were very understanding that I wouldn't be able to shoot last summer. But yeah, I just sat on it and I couldn't do anything. No one had vaccine. The vaccine wasn't around yet, and so what I did was I worked on a script some more. What else did I do? I started contacting my contacts from previous film festivals, just spreading the word. I didn't want to waste time.
Right.
Eventually, I created a poster for it, and I just sat on it till I got my second vaccine shot. And then when I started casting, they were like, I asked them, are they vaccinated? Like, yeah, I'm vaccinated. I'm definitely going to get vaccinated. Or I'm my first shot, second shots. I'm like, okay, I think this could work this year. But now that everyone I cast, I eventually found cast some actors who are vaccinated. I'm like, there's no reason to push this back because, already have the funding for it.
Yeah.
The script is ready. And so just for about a year, I just sat on the project and worked on other things related to it, like promoting it and telling friends about it and creating the poster. And
Well, I'm just excited that it is moving forward.
Yeah.
And I'm also very excited about you utilizing Inwood and Northern Manhattan as background for the film. Why did you choose to set it here? It could be set anywhere. It could be set in the Philippines.
No, I just wanted to highlight the area. Definitely Fort Tryon. It's a great park. Lots, I only see before this project. I only saw the part of it where I go into the tunnel to take the A train.
Mm-hmm.
But since I decided to shoot my movie, I've been doing a lot of walking around, checking out locations for possible scenes. And then the cinematographer that I hired, Jeremy Hopwood, he used to live around here. So he knows this area really well. Yeah, he used to live off, I think he said like 207 or something. Yeah, around here.
Okay.
So he knows Isham Park really well, Fort Tryon. So I just thought it would be, there's really no reason to go anywhere else because we have some really great sceneries here.
Yeah.
Inwood Hill Park, Fort Tryon with a bridge in the background, and the Hudson River.
It's a great situation, and I know you have your own things, but we have a good relationship with North Manhattan Parks from doing our Filmworks al fresco there.
Yeah.
And so if you need anything, let us know, and we can try to put a word in for you. But
Yeah.
you'll be on you're a big boy. You do good enough on your own, I know.
Yeah.
But I think it's fantastic that you do that, and you're going to take care of your cast and bring them here into the park here.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful to know that it's being shot uptown, and that our local resources are indeed resources, and providing a good backdrop for the film.
Mm-hmm.
Well, uptown represents, because uptown, our representation matters.
Yeah.
It's really great. But so does Asian representation and Filipino representation.
Mm-hmm.
So what I want to point out too about this story, because I know the script, it's a very mainstream story.
Very mainstream, yeah.
So it's great. It's like a spoonful of sugar making the Asian persuasion go down.
Exactly.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Because it's great having an all Asian cast for this universal and very a relatable story.
Where do I start? I definitely, one of my goals as a filmmaker, Asian filmmaker, Filipino filmmaker, is to bring Asian Filipino chic to the mainstream. And to me, the best way to do that, the way I'm trying to do that, is not to necessarily make a huge Filipino movie and just put it out there. Hopefully the mainstream audience will see it. I kind of want to go like through the back door, meaning it'll be a mainstream movie, mainstream story, but with characters who happen to be Filipinos.
Mm-hmm.
Like for example, one of my favorite movies, I don't know if this is the politically correct thing to say, one of my favorite Asian themed movies is Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle, because these are two, the story is very mainstream. These guys could have been white guys. They could have been any ethnicity. They're just two stoners trying to get to White Castle. But the way they were presented, it's like you never forget that they're Asians. You never forget that one's Korean and one's Indian. And I think that's great. People go there and watch this movie, get some laughs, and at the same time, they would come out of it thinking maybe they get a little bit something positive from, like an Indian character and from the Korean character. And that's how I want to portray, that's how I want to approach Filipino representation, meaning I want to relate mainstream stories, but at the same time, you don't forget that these are Filipino characters going through mainstream stories. So you're gonna get their story, and when it's over, you're gonna get something about the Filipino culture. It's not like hitting them over the head.
There's no activism a part of it all. It's inherent in the story. It's like it's a necessary part of the story. Yeah. And your point is like the story is them.
Yeah.
So you don't have to push.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the pleasure of being served. I think it's told from an Filipino American point of view, not necessarily from an American or Filipino point of view, because there are parts that are sympathetic to what it's like to be an American, free market, capitalism. Then there's another part there where it's about what it means to be a Filipino in the U.S. struggling, and how you think about, you miss your family back home, and you miss your, you try to find camaraderie wherever you can. Mm-hmm. So it's trying to balance both things. And
well, I think it's incredibly smart the way you wrote it. You have written it, and I'm looking to see if there's any major changes during COVID. Did you do any major rewrites, or is it pretty much the same story?
It's pretty much the same story. I'm trying to make it. I'm trying to see how much I can get away with. Meaning, these are likable characters, but I think they're a little flawed, just like everyone. And I'm gonna do my best to take these flawed characters, be likable and relatable as much as possible.
Well, I'm so thrilled this project's moving forward. And Michael, will you talk to what effect, if any, did the grant from the Inwood Film Festival Fund have on making this project come to life?
I became an award-winning filmmaker.
Just like that.
Yeah, and it's validation. I've never gotten money. Well, I have. Like, I've gotten, fee, like broadcast fees, and I got like some money from Philippine online TV station. We want to broadcast your movie, but I've never gotten a grant to make a short film, which is great. It's just such a validation. Now I can go out and when I was trying to sell the project to the actors I'm working with, look, I'm an award-winning filmmaker.
Absolutely.
It's great too, because I was talking to the cinematographer, and we were talking about it, and he's like, yeah, I think this will be it's a good project. Yeah, I'd like to do it. And he said something like, it looks like you know what you're doing too. You're not just some like 23-year-old recent
NYU
grad making out his first film. It's like, it looks like you know what you're doing. And he's like, okay, great. I got money to make a short film.
Well, that's amazing.
I don't know anyone else who's given money to make. I don't know, but to me, it means a lot. It's just big validation that, yeah.
Well, you're definitely worth it, and and if you're not, we're taking our money back. No, I'm kidding. Just teasing. But actually, that's, to us, is the big reward, is hearing that it's moving the stories forward. Yeah, sure, of course, money moves things forward, and you're paying for people and paying for catering, whatever else, and locations and permits and whatnot. But the fact of the matter that if you can use it to your advantage to move your story forward, literally getting done, that's, to us, what it's all about.
Oh yeah, thank you very much.
Sure thing. Well, kind of in a parting shot here, as an experienced, we'll say amateur rising filmmaker, because you have credits, it's not like your first film, like you said, and you are a one-man gang. Yeah. What advice can you give to those snot-nosed punks out of NYU or Iowa or wherever, or the Philippines, particularly young Filipino ones, because it does matter. We're talking about representation and things like that. But anybody who feels a little different, who is trying to find their ways to create and distribute their projects.
Well, a couple of things. 3 things. I hope I remember them.
Just make something up. We'll believe it.
No. One is, don't give up easily, just because the pleasure of being served, my most successful movie so far in terms of film festivals, I wrote when I was in my late 40s. And Asian Persuasion, which you guys picked up for production, I got grants for it. I wrote in my early 50s. And if you pay attention to the text, to the context, and what's going on in the background, these are things that I never could have written as a teenager or a 20-year-old, because, Pleasure Being Served, it deals with, first of all, it has that PG nudity scene. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I could have asked as a 20-something, as an actress, could you be naked from behind and walk into the bathtub? I don't know. I would have been like, can I handle that nudity in a short film? I'm at 20. But, you're, with age, you become more mature. And it's like, you know what? This movie needs it. It fits in with the theme. So, yeah, I'm going to need you to be naked from the back and go into the shower. Just stuff like that, being mature to be able to handle mature themes. Mm-hmm. And, the main character, not the main character, the guy, the American guy, is like a womanizer, but at the same time, I directed him to be like a nice person.
Yeah.
So, where was I? I'm sorry. I'm just.
Your advice to the three. Your three
Right.
3 points. That was one.
The 3 points is, you just don't give up easily, because when you're young, maybe you may not have lived enough to experience these really deep feelings, deep point of views. Like Asian Persuasion, it's a lot of, the stories about a guy proposing to his girlfriend, and in the process of that, his friends chime in with what their thoughts are about marriage. Like, that's something I could not have written when I was a 20-year-old film student. Like, what would I know about marriage? What would my friends know about being married, and the things that happen when you're married and how you change? Second is, you really need to know marketing. You really need to know how to promote your work, not just your work, just yourself. You need to become a brand name. I know, easier said than done. It's like, like I mentioned before, I am lucky enough to have contacts in the film industry, in film festivals, where I tell them, look, I'm coming out with a movie. A couple of them I've said, just send it over, we'll screen it, whatever it is. Just because my name, they already know me, my work, my name. And you need to do that because, like I said, you can make a great movie, but once it's out there in the film festival world, it's basically playing the lottery, and you really need to stick out somehow. Have a great title, have a, like, I don't want this to come out wrong, like, be controversial so that, hey, the guy who did this and this, he came out with the movies like he did. I gotta see that movie. I don't care what it's about, because
Make an impression.
Make an impression. Yeah, like especially titles, movie titles, they're important. Like Spike Lee had the best title. She's Gotta Have It. I'm like, what's that about? I gotta see it. She's Gotta Have It.
Because you got to have it to see it.
Exactly. Do the Right Thing. That's a great title for a movie. Like, I want to see that.
Yeah.
Whatever it's about. So come up with a great title, so that if you're a film programmer, you get a stack of videos, a stack of things to watch. Oh, She's Gotta Have It. I gotta have what? I gotta see that first. And one more. Third is just enjoy yourself. Meaning, if you're still an aspiring amateur filmmaker, just enjoy it. Do whatever you want. You're not at that stage yet where your film needs to make money. Meaning, just do whatever you want. If it doesn't make sense, but it makes sense to you, do it, because it's not like, you're just doing it for yourself, kind of. Because when you start thinking about money, then you started like, well, that's not going to sell. That's not going to sell. That's not going to sell. But here it's like, I don't care. This is my movie. It makes sense to me. I'm going to do what I want. No one's going to tell me what to do. And I'm not going to have these focus groups. That doesn't make sense. No, this is my movie. Enjoy it. Take advantage of the freedom, because once I think you're out there making movies, maybe people will say, well, we need your movie. We spent so much on your movie. We need you to make this much. We need you to make these adjustments to get our money back. Or I don't know. I'm not at that point yet.
But you're not. But you're climbing in, and you know who you are, which I think is great as a filmmaker. That's my point. Is like you have. That's why I kind of pay attention earlier to the genres you're exploring, and like your interests and your your screenwriting and how you're going about and making your movies out there available to people. And what you do is that hopefully people have heard through your passion that you're hustling. Like you're hustling, and you care, and your passion comes through in trying to put yourself out there. And and at the end of the day, is that you're not getting paid for this right now. So guess what? You better enjoy it, right? You better enjoy the journey, because it's worth. I mean, there are rewards, as you said. Just going to the festivals. There's adulation for the feedback, and but making it itself. Would you agree is a reward?
Yeah, definitely.
It's good enough.
It's, oh, I got one more. Sorry.
There's 3.5.
No, this is
or 4.
This is the last one. I promise. Be prepared for success, because I was, made when Bart, I have 6874, blah, blah, blah. My very first short film, I sent it out to film festivals. I haven't heard back from anyone. I'm like, okay, that was fun. I got a little short film out of it. I got a call around 11:30 on a Tuesday, 11:30 at night, from Roberto Rizzo, IFFM. And he said, Mike, congratulations, I want to screen your movie. It's like, oh, great, wow, this is a real film festival. And I looked at his website. They're like, yeah, they hire out real movie theaters to show the movies instead of like, yeah, let's get a screen, pull it down, and get some. Just like movie theaters, like, oh, this is great. I'm gonna be in a film festival. So he's like, okay, so today's Tuesday. Do you have a poster for it? He's like, yeah. Do you have postcards for it? Because I need everything by Friday. It's like, yeah, I have a poster for it. Yeah, I have a postcard. And you have like a website that we can all link to, because I want to post it on my website for start telling people about it. Yeah, you'll have it. I'll have everything to you by this week. I didn't have any of those because I had no idea what's needed at these festivals.
Yeah.
So that night I had to work late, put together a poster. I never... like a poster. I registered the name when Bart 6874 met Lulu 5547. I put some pictures up and I ordered some postcards. I did this like overnight so that by Friday I would have all.
You didn't sleep for 3 days.
Yeah, but the point is, you got to be ready for, got to be prepared for success. Yeah, that's it. That's all I have.
Yeah, that's a lot. And you know what? That's great advice. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
Well, you're one of our favorite filmmakers, and we're looking forward to more great things for you.
Yeah,
we believe in you, believe in your work, obviously. And so, if you need any more help with Asian persuasion or whatever it will be called, let us know.
I definitely will. Thanks.
You betcha. So this has been Inwood Artworks On Air. Michael, thank you so much for being here and sharing with us your talent. And also, before we leave, Michael, because we got to take your advice here.
Yeah.
Where are we going to go to find out about your projects?
Where? That would be angrydugfilms.com.
There you go.
That's it, yeah.
We'll have that link on our description of this episode.
Yep.
So thanks again to Michael for joining me on this Artist Spotlight episode of Inwood Artworks On Air, where we meet the musicians, filmmakers, writers, theater makers, and artists of all stripes who make their home here in Upper Manhattan. If you have a moment, please show us some love right now by rating and reviewing this podcast on Apple Podcasts. That really does help. Many thanks to Hanuman Health Club here at 219 Sherman Avenue in Inwood for hosting us, and to HeightSites.com for local uptown promotional support. Be sure to follow us on social media at Inwood Artworks to keep up with all that we do, which includes the Inwood Film Festival, Filmworks Al Fresco, pop-up galleries, live performances, and so much more. You can support On Air and all of our programming by making a tax-free donation at inwoodartworks.nyc/donate. This program is supported in part by public funds from the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs in partnership with City Council. From the top of Manhattan and the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much for tuning in. This is Aaron Sims for Inwood Artworks On Air.